Tutsugo Mshongo from Sage is going to be talking us through a presentation by Sage. A round of applause for him, please.
Thank you so much. My name is Tutsugo, and I'm not alone. I'm joined by Matt. You can go introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Matthew Lesko. I'm the CEO of TydeCo. We're a business partner with Sage. If you can't tell by my accent, I'm not here from South Africa. I'm from the US, but we're a global partner with Sage. So we focus on Sage Intacct. We work in the US market, the Canadian market, and here in Africa, Middle East. We're going to do a demo and sort of talk about where Intacct is going for accountants. About one of the really exciting and brand new things that we're presenting is the new Sage Intacct Accountants program that is being deployed here in Africa, Middle East to support firms like yours in driving advisory level services. And that's kind of where I come from. So I started as what we call a Sage Intacct accounting partner in the US. And the global partner office a few years ago asked me to look at that program and figure out a better way to do it from a global perspective. And so we're here today to show how an ERP that sometimes feels unapproachable to accounting firms based on price can be approachable not only from a price perspective, but from a value perspective. So our goal here is to show a little bit about what Intacct can do, talk a little bit about why it can make you different or differentiate you in the market, and why it's different from other products that are available here in AME. With that, I'll let you go into the demo.
Thank you so much, Matt. So like Matt said, right, we are here to talk about Sage Intacct. It's an ERP solution that accountants can really use, to scale their businesses. I can promise you there is no other product within our product stack, right, that scales like Sage Intacct can. Because your clients, if they want to add more entities, this system allows them to do that, right? If they want to branch out of South Africa, the system is allowed that because it is a global application. So no system within our product stack, I can bet my salary on this, even in these hard times, no system can scale like ours within our product stack, right? That's the operative word, within our product stack. So currently, this is Sage Intacct. As you can see, I'm currently logged in as Cindy, the CFO. So the system is also role-based, right? So we can just create roles for different users, and then when they log into the system, they will only have access to the part of the system they need to perform their functions. If I can take you right here, I have multiple entities within this one instance. Now, this is a game changer, especially for our clients that have multiple entities, and these entities transact with each other, and it's often keeping control or remembering the different codes, right, to each database that you have to log in and navigating all of those. Within this one instance alone, I have an entity in the US, an entity in South Africa, in Canada, in United Kingdom. So basically, our clients can now have different companies with different base currencies all consolidating to a single currency, right? It is a game changer. Now, these entities also transact with each other. So what Sage Intacct does in the background is the fact that we map these entities for you, right? The Ju2 and the Ju forms. So however you then do your transactions, whether through journals, when you're doing your inter-entity transactions through journals, now think of those loan accounts that you have to do one by one, and then at the end of the period, you have to balance them out. And then when you consolidate, you have to eliminate all of them, right? Now, the game changer in this is you would still do your debits and credits, those journals, but the Ju2 and Ju forms will be mapped for you, so you don't have to balance anything out. Also, with how our clients do their inter-entity transactions, they might be doing them through invoices, right? Another game changer and a time saver within Sage Intacct is the fact that I can go and raise an AR invoice in one company. The system will go ahead and automatically raise an AP invoice in another company, right? I don't have to raise an AR invoice in one company, log out of that, go to another entity, raise a corresponding AP invoice. Let the system do it for you. And then at the end, consolidate. Matt?
Yeah, so if you, yeah. How many people have lived just in Excel hell when it comes to like multi-entity management, when we have the legacy products that are all individual instances of that software? Anybody? I swear there's got to be more hands in here because I deal with this all the time. So Intacct is built on the idea of a multi-entity shared environment, meaning that we have one structure for a organization that has 200, 300 entities. And by the way that Intacct operates, it automatically manages that do to, do from, or intercompany component. But what is important is how we look at this as accountants. So do we want to take our time in manual reconciliations of that type of stuff? And this is just one aspect of what Intacct does. Or do we want to shift our work into that advisory level, that non-transactional level, that strategic approach of saying, how do we actually extract data from this and report to it? And so from my perspective, when we start having a system that has this level of infrastructure, not only does it help with the do to, do from, but now think about what that means from a reporting perspective and how we can consolidate reporting automatically across the whole or subdivide it into subsets of entities or across any dimensional structure that, that Intacct has. So I think you'll go into the reporting side of this here in a second, right? Well, then I'll stop talking.
No problem there, right? So the system itself is module-based. Like Matt said, when it comes to consolidation, we have a consolidation module that would allow for easy consolidation across all entities, right? So within this consolidation, it's an easy setup thing. So the system is user-friendly. As you would see, you can basically design your own books in terms of how you want to consolidate. Do I want to consolidate only my entities in South Africa in Book A, Book 2, entities outside of South Africa, Book 3, I want to consolidate all of them, right? I'm just going to click onto this one, which is my global consolidation book. Within this consolidation book right here, I actually decide which entities that I want to consolidate, right? The most important thing that I brought you here for is the fact that since I have that box enabled right there, which says enable inter-entity auto elimination, so when I go ahead and do my consolidation, the system will then go and do the eliminations for me. So I don't have to perform those pro forma journals. Now think of this, right? You are consolidating 10 different companies. You have to pull trial balances for 10 different companies. Line by line, go and track each transaction and then perform pro forma journals to eliminate those. Why not let Sage Intacct just do it all for you at once? Add consolidation, right? And then, of course, you can go ahead and have a recurrence when it comes to consolidation. The system consolidates offline, so you don't have to be kicked off of the system or stay after hours to run your consolidation. I can go ahead and say, I want the system to consolidate monthly, weekly, or daily for me. And once the system is done consolidating, it goes ahead and lets me know on this email that I've put in here. Then I can go ahead and write my reports from there. Matt?
Yeah. So if we look at how consolidations work in this instance, there's two sides of consolidations. Natural consolidations, just automatic, or this elimination component. But what I'd like to talk about here is that Sage Intacct isn't just about multi-entity and consolidations. It's about being a product that isn't just a generalized solution. So a lot of our legacy softwares, if you take a Xero, I hope I'm not going to hurt anybody's feelings here. If you take a Xero, it is really put as a product that is for any business, right? Any industry. Where a Sage Intacct is truly a verticalized solution. Not meaning that it's only for one vertical, meaning that there is specific modules based and built around each vertical. So whether it's nonprofit, healthcare, professional services, financial services, SaaS, and so forth, we have specific tool sets that allow for very granular approaches to the deployment of Intacct. I heard some questions earlier about things like credit control. Well, yes, we can do some of that in Intacct through different flow sheets and things of that nature, and from permission-based. I heard questions around AP bill automation and AR automation and things of that nature, in which how does Intacct, from a capability perspective, reduce that data entry? And all of this infrastructure that you're seeing today, and we can't get into everything. I'll tell you what, when we do demos for clients, you're talking about a 2-hour demo, and we only scratch the surface, and what we have 35 minutes. So what we see is, how do we allow Intacct to take the accountant, and what I say is, be that CFO-minded accountant. Let's not be that tactical data enter. Let's find those tools. I'm going to call out one module and then hand it to you. One thing I talk to accountants about more than anything else with Intacct is it's what I think one of its most powerful modules, which is dynamic allocations. Dynamic allocations is the ability to allocate costs or revenue based on variable information within your system. So let's imagine that in our system, we want to allocate expenses for our customer across departments based on gross profit, but we don't want to do that in Excel. We can create transaction definitions within the system that automatically does this for us in real time, and now we have that data. One of the things that Sage talks about more than anything else is the goal for a continuous close. What we mean by continuous close is that every day we have our information up to date to that day, so that we're making real-time information, real-time decisions based on that information, and that we are, as accountants, we become that person, that virtual CFO that our clients rely on to provide that strategic information. One last thing I'll say is, yes, AI is embedded in Intacct, and no, AI is not going to take our jobs. If everybody has the same AI, what changes the output? All of you. We're the ones that change the output, and that's how we differentiate ourselves.
Cool. Thank you so much for that. So the system itself, like Matt said, right, it does not just focus on a specific vertical, because I'm just going off on consolidations here. But also, since I'm there, what I didn't mention is obviously you consolidating wholly owned entities, or maybe you consolidating, subsidiaries where we own 75%, 25% has to go to non-controlling interest. Again, Sage Intacct just does that for you automatically, depending on, the percentage that you control. Dynamic allocation, again, so that we do profit sharing based on shareholder holdings. You can basically do that again through dynamic allocations. But what makes Sage Intacct great, it's the fact that it is a financial system, but that does not just solely focus on the financial aspect only, right? Because within the system as well, in addition to this thing called dimensions that you basically use to allocate your financial information, right? These things, you just take them onto transactions. I'm just going to speak about Sage Business Cloud Accounting. Think of those analysis codes and the limitations thereof. Within Sage Intacct, you do not have any limitations when it comes to that, right? You can have as many dimensions as you like, and you can take as many on the transactions themselves as you like. You can budget against each dimension, right? Budget against each location, budget against each customer, each item, each supplier, each warehouse. You can have parent-child relationships with your dimensions, right? I have an entity in Gauteng, then under Gauteng, I have an entity in Midrand, then Midrand, Vunaveli, up to a street, if that's what you want to track, right? But we also have these things called statistical accounts, right? And this is why I love Sage Intacct, because it does not purely focus on the financial aspects only, right? Now think of that client, for instance, that is in logistics, that wants to track cost per kilometer traveled. Think of that client, for instance, that is leasing warehouses, wants to know cost per square meter leased. Think of that client that is in hospitality, for instance, that wants to track occupancy rates and the rooms that are available, right? So not only are you tracking your financial data, but you're also tracking your non-financial data using these things called statistical accounts. And you're also able to incorporate both and pull a report on it.
So, I'm going to start echoing.
Oh.
So with statistical accounts, the simplest way I look at it is think about your restaurant that wants revenue by square meter. You can bring that level of information in. But I think what's even more important to understand about the infrastructure of Intacct is its open nature. It's open API, meaning that for any one of those third-party operational systems, whether it's a POS for restaurants, whether it's logistical systems for logistics companies, whether it's any of those things, we can bring any level of that data. So I was on a call last night with a healthcare organization, and they were asking me how we could connect their EMR system, so their medical billing system, into Intacct, and how we can bring in both financial and demographic data to be able to bring in information like revenue by patient or revenue by bed. So this really elevates what we do. Now, I don't know where we're on time, and I think we'd both be happy to take questions, but we also have the booth outside. Everybody come get a shirt. We have them for all of you. And learn a little bit more about how Sage Intacct Accountants supports you as firms and how we can really drive a value proposition to your client base.
Cool. And because we're pressed for time, I'm just going to go ahead and skip to reporting, right? There are a lot of other modules that I'm just going to skip over, right? We have inventory control, multi-warehouse functionality there, cycle accounts. You are able to build kits there. We have project accounting, for instance. You want to specify a beginning date of the project and the end date of that project. You want to submit timesheets and approve those timesheets. You want to submit expense claims just on that project, right? You want to look at Gantt charts. You want to be able to do your project estimates and so forth. That just goes with project accounting. We also have Sage Intacct budgeting and planning, right? We also even have contracts module, which is a beast on its own for our clients that are basically driving the subscription-based businesses, right? But I'm just going to go ahead and go into our reporting functionality within Sage Intacct, right? Because of these things called dimensions and how you would be using them, doing those management packs within a financial system has never been more easier than when you're using Sage Intacct, right? Because the system itself has over 100 reports, just standard reports ready for you to use, right? You're talking about your normal statement of financial position report, your P&Ls, for instance. All of these are just standard reports that come with the system, right? You want to look at your P&L, you want to look at it by department, by location, a P&L by project, P&L by supplier, by customer. You want to look at your P&L as a percentage of your revenue. All of these are just standard reports. I'm just going to go ahead and run one report for you. Also, you can even create report audiences, right? For instance, looking at this balance sheet right here, this one is for the board. That's why we've condensed it. But this one is for auditors. That's why we're giving detail, right? And also, because Sage Intacct is user-based, again, when auditors come, we can just go ahead, make them users on the system, limit their access, and they can go ahead, go and play with Sage Intacct and leave us alone, right, for us to actually do our jobs. But obviously, that's a very, very terrible joke since only accountants and auditors are in here, right? So again, within Sage Intacct, as auditors, you don't have to go and ask the client, where is the supporting document of this transaction? Because every invoice, PO requisition, GRV, you name it, every journal entry, you can actually just go and attach any supporting document there. The system is date stamped and time stamped of who did a transaction, when did they do it, who approved it, when did they approve it, and so forth, right? And you can basically just pull any report from there that you want to pull. I'm just going to go ahead and click into this balance sheet report right here and go click OK. So it gives me a report that looks like this. Highly customizable report. It's giving me 3 periods, but then again, I can say, let give me 12 months, right? The system can be able to do that because you are able to modify standard reports within the system. And of course, the drill down functionality that we all love, we haven't lost that also. You're still able to drill down on a figure that you're investigating, which takes you to your general ledger report. And then you're still able to drill down further to the general entries report, where I can then see the dimensions that were taken when this transaction was being done, right? I can see the department, I can see the customer, the project, the task, the item, and of course, our lovely debits and credits in terms of the accounts that were touched, right? But I do not have the time to drill down on each transaction just to see the department that was checked, right? So, and this is easy to use. I'm just going to demonstrate this for you, how easy this thing is. You don't need an additional degree just to do this, right? And that's how easy my job is. As you're wondering what is pre-sales engineer, it's basically just clicking through the system, right? And since this is an easy system to use, then my job is very easy, okay? I'm just going to go ahead and click edit. On the same report, right? I'm now using our report writer within Sage Intacct. Just gonna go ahead to my columns. This is my second click, by the way, and we're gonna count the clicks, right? I'm just going to go ahead and add one column to the right or left. It doesn't really matter. This is my third click. What I want to do is, do I want my actual data on this report, or do I want my statistical data, or do I want my computations, right? My computation on actual or on budgets as well. Do I want to put in my focus budget or my remaining budget or a percentage of it? But because it's a demo, I'm just going to leave this to actual and then go ahead down here and expand this report by my dimensions, because I want the department. Set that in. I'm a color person. Where I'm doing good, I want to see green. Let me just go ahead, use a color scale there. Where I'm doing bad, I want to see red. And then let me preview this report. This is my sixth click, by the way. It looked like this, giving us a great detail. I can see every detail. If I want to investigate anything, I can drill down. But now I've essentially modified this report and say, I want to see the departments that are responsible for these different figures that I was seeing, right? And then the system has basically given me that. I could have said by location, I could have said by customer, by supplier, by project, or any dimension that I am basically tracking. And you can group these reports and send them to a CFO every 8 o'clock Monday morning. And that's what the system will do, because the group of these reports have been put on schedule. And that is the power of Sage Intacct.
Can we hit this again?
Oh, yes. I seem to forget.
I think that the reporting is the most impactful part of what Intacct brings, especially for firms in delivering value to their clients. And so if we think about this, we don't have time to demo every type of report. We showed a balance sheet. We could show an income statement, things of that nature, but fully customizable reports. We're not talking about the old days of crystal reports or things of that nature. We're talking about having easy to use, configurable reports, but it's not just reports. Based in a system are financial reports, financial graphs, and what we call scorecards. All of these can make up dashboards. And those dashboards are role-based so that you have a CFO dashboard, you could have a project manager dashboard. You can build out things like for professional services, utilization tracking. So for me, where, you know, I always thought as an accountant, the least fun part of the accounting journey was like entering all the data, and the most fun was extracting that and meeting with the client and talking them through their business and helping them strategize about their next step and their next growth. And I want, at least for my team in the US and for my clients globally, to be able to focus their time at that level, not actually producing the financials. And if we talk about the shift in where AI is going to take us as an industry, is that's what I think it's going to take us. It's going to elevate those individuals that embrace it and focus on strategy, and it's going to not make it obsolete, but make it less value, a less valuable software or service, in the perception of your client base. And so do we want to continue to move forward, or do we want to stay behind from where we were historically? And look, I've been there. So this is where I think the rubber meets the road when it comes to really driving value-based services.
Yes, thank you so much. And what I left out in terms of reporting, although you have standard reports within the system, if they're not enough for you, you can modify them. If modifying a standard report is not enough for you, we have also a custom report writer. You'd be able to write your own report. If that's not enough for you, we also have an interactive custom report writer within Sage Intacct. So you have 4 ways to actually run your reports within the system, and it's easy to do, right? And speaking about AI there, Matt, we also have something called the general outlier within the Sage Intacct platform. Basically, what that does is the system is learning from the user, right? As I am transacting within the system, as I am choosing a specific account with a specific department, the system is learning from me that this account is usually used with this department. Say, one Monday morning, I come back, I had a long weekend, whatever I was doing, but I post that account with a different department. The system would not post that transaction. It will flag it as an outlier, right? Because the system is not used to this particular pattern used within our company, right? Also, that helps when you have an external system that is plugged into Sage Intacct, because the system is learning the pattern of these transactions that are pushed over through APIs, that they are usually like this. So whenever someone else does something on an external system, whatever they do there, that Sage Intacct is not familiar with, it will not post their transaction. It flags it as an outlier. And then someone who is responsible for reviewing outliers gets an email. Within that email, a link that takes them straight to that transaction where they can see the problem and then fix it. So you get time to fix problems before they actually become problems, right? And as Matt was saying about the dashboards. All our dashboards are based on the reports themselves. You can basically go ahead, create your own report, and then take that report, put it on a dashboard. So basically, we do not give you static dashboards where you cannot even change it, right? But we give you the ability to build your own dashboard based on the role that you have. Say, for instance, I'm a global CFO, and the information that I want to see is, company performance. I want to see total revenue. I want to see operating expenses by departments and so forth. That is my role, right? And you're able to build a dashboard specifically for your role. And as you can see right here, our dashboards, you can customize them. I don't want to see this information by this. I'm able to then choose how I want to see this information by modifying all my dashboards, right? All righty, yes.
The last thing I just wanted to mention when it comes to AI is we see a lot of products that are embedding AI using Claude or other LLMs into it. That's not the strategy that Sage has. We at Sage have been building AI models since 2016. There's over 35,000 agents deployed inside the product, anywhere from the outlier talked about to the AP automation, AR automation, close automation, and so forth. What Sage has delivered is what we call the trust certificate. When you look at the AI, we can audit all the way down to how that answer has been come to. And that's really important to be able to deliver quality financial services or advisory services. If we can't show how this information is being delivered to our clients won't trust what we're telling them, won't trust the accounting system. And this is where there has to be a level of understanding and protection around how we choose AI-enabled products. And Sage, if you look at G2 Crowd or any of those, is the leader in delivering AI embedded solutions within Intacct.
Okay. And lastly from me, again, this is a big product, right? We can definitely not talk about everything that is within Sage Intacct. We also have Collaborate in there as well. You know, when our clients are using the system, whenever someone is supposed to approve a transaction that they haven't been approving, firstly, we do have approval policies, right? Before an invoice is posted, it has to be approved. Before a PO or requisition, GRV, or pro forma invoice, whatever workflow you're using, before that is posted, it has to be approved. We have different types of approval policies: value approval policy, progressive, right? From 100 rands to 1,000, one approver. From 1,000, 1 cent to 10,000, 2 approvers. From 10,000, 1 cent to 100,000, 3 approvers, right? And this goes up to 6 levels. Everything is email prompted. When I raise a requisition, whoever's supposed to approve can then go ahead and they receive an email back and a link also of the transactions that they have to approve. Also, we have an app version for the approval processes, right? You don't even have to log into Sage Intacct to actually approve transactions. You can just log into that app and approve from there. Once you approve the transaction, I get an email back. It has been approved. Again, so I don't have to keep WhatsApping you or calling you. Have you approved my transaction? Have you approved it? And so forth. The system basically takes care of the communication. Also, we have Collaborate, which is a communication feature also within Sage Intacct. Now, think of a transaction that is being done. For instance, we have basically done in advance for an employee of 20,000, but our policies say it has to be 1,000. I can just go ahead on that transaction on Collaborate and say, Met, why have you process this transaction, right? Again, that is audit evidence. Even if I were to leave the company and that transaction were to be in question, all of that communication relating to the transaction and the supporting document will always be on the system, right? Again, so Intacct is a major lifesaver in that regard. Also, we have a help center within Sage Intacct, again, because I forget sometimes how to do something within the system. I can either use the Copilot search function and just play with AI and say, how do I add an invoice, right? The system then tells me exactly how do I do that. Or we also have a help center as well with those 10 to 5-minute video or 5 to 10-minute videos on how to actually do something within the system itself. So that is 24/7 available help support, in addition to what Matt and his team would be providing as support. All right.
So I guess, is there any questions?
Yes.
Around? I will let this guy
To the
decide.
back. And there's another hand here on the left. And a third hand here. Start at the back. Go ahead.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I want to ask in relation to someone who's using the older system. I hear we're talking a lot about Intacct and evolution. So I know that there's certain modules we can input onto the old system, like project modules. I just want to understand the limitations in what we can actually input onto the old system that comes from the new versions, because some of the clients we serve don't have the financial muscle to upgrade. So what would be other modules and other limitations that we can input that are this fancy and efficient and forward-looking, and buy it and put it into the old module?
So,
Thank you. There was a second hand there. You can just take all the questions.
Hello. Just to find out, the app licensing structure, do you require a full license to operate? So if you just want to be an approver on the app, do you have to have a full license to operate on the system? So, or is there a secondary pricing for that?
Thank you. There was another hand there. Oh, third hand, and then number 4. Go ahead.
Thank you for the presentation. My question is in terms of the companies that you're able to work on. So if we have an entity in South Africa, an entity in Zambia, an entity in Kenya, an entity, can they all work on the same profile and therefore consolidate the different countries?
All right. Last question in the middle. Thank you.
Morning, thank you. I've got cost-related question. So if you're an in-between company, you've outgrown Sage Online, you're looking at Intacct, but you're not willing to make that financial investment. How do you motivate your client, or how do you scale down your implementation cost?
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
Well,
You can go ahead with the last one, the implementation and scaling. Yeah.
all right. You want me to start there? All right. Perfect. That's where my firm actually comes in to the play. So we're what's called a master SIA partner, which means we're here to help enable and support accounting firms in their journey into evaluating Intacct and delivering a value proposition to the client base that resonates and shows how the product will actually create, and I think Elrico said it really well earlier, create finance as a profit center as opposed to a cost center. But to be a little bit more specific to your question is, first of all, the Sage Intacct Accountants program is deliberately positioned at deep discounting to accounting firms to make it more attainable for the client base and for that accounting firm. So what you've probably heard from a pricing perspective in the marketplace around Intacct, or if you think about other ERPs, that's not what we're dealing with when it comes to this specific program, Sage Intacct Accountants. On top of that, you asked about implementation and so forth. We have very specified implementation procedures for accounting firms, ones in which we train so that every implementation becomes faster and cheaper. So I hate the word cheaper. I say we do it, the time to value is quicker, and we shift certain responsibilities from us as the implementer to you as the accountant, but in your normal day-to-day activity as the accountant. If we all start at price, I think we lose. If we start at value, I think we win in the client journey.
Cool. Thank you so much for that. I have 2 minutes, right? So with the question in terms of, clients using older versions and how do we plug in other systems as well, the nice thing about Sage is that it's a big ecosystem, right? So we have different products. For instance, you can go from Sage 50 to Pasto and then from Sage Business Cloud, right? All of those cater for your small clients, right? Sage Business Cloud also has APIs which then allow that system to integrate with a whole lot of other applications, and we have a marketplace for them as well, right? So if your business has outgrown or your client's businesses has outgrown then the use of Sage Business Cloud, then most likely Sage Intacct is a better fit for them. And in terms of user licenses, the system, in terms of how it is priced, we have different types of users, business users, which have full access to the system, then limited users, and then employee users. Now, employee users, they come in a pack of 10, right? So you just only have to be an employee user to be able to download the app itself and be able to do your approvals. Even when it comes to submitting timesheets and expenses, you just need only to be an employee user.
Also, also under the Sage Intacct Accountants program, we've developed a user type that is different than what's out in the retail market called a client user. Because we know that in the outsourced realm, we're dealing with a do-it-with-you model in a lot of ways. So we allow for transactional work to be done at this client user. I also just want to make sure that we're on the same page. Sage Intacct is native cloud. There's no version control. There's quarterly releases that happen. It gets deployed across the entire ecosystem. Modules can be added on at any time. Modules can be added on and scaled. One of the things that I say in implementation, and I'm watching that clock, is the core of what you buy initially is always going to be implemented at the time of delivery. But any additional module that happens is just that configuration on top of that core structure. And so to your question, it is one console, one structure, and I don't care if it's in South Africa, in Namibia, but then UK. Intacct is deployed right now in the US, Canada, UK, Ireland, South Africa, Dubai, France, Germany. I can keep going. It is Sage's new flagship product.
All right. Any other questions? Yes, there's one at the back there. Go ahead.
1 second. It's an online question.
All right.
1 second. It's from Fortunate Mashabalele. Is Sage compatible or interfaced with, or can be interfaced with any other ERP systems for larger entities?
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, right. Because of our open API functionalities, you would be able to do that. So when you want to pass data onto Sage Intacct, you could either use our APIs or you could just do a data dump, right? So we allow for both functionalities. Unless do you want to add anything there, Matt?
I can just mention that if you can hear me,
Yes.
if anybody has used any type of like middleware product, like an iPaaS integration platform as a service solution, those products can basically integrate any data set into Intacct. That's FTP, that's SQL, that's API. So there's no limitation there whatsoever.
All right. I don't think we have any other questions on that note. Thank you very much to Matt and TydeCo for that very insightful presentation. A big round of applause for them.